Did Donald Trump accidentally pardon the suspected pipe bomber from January 6, 2021? The suspect's name is Brian Cole Jr., who has now been telling investigators that he's a Trumper, that he believed in all of the election conspiracies. More on that in just a moment. But when I say, did Donald Trump accidentally pardon this guy? Now, there were a lot of conspiracies spread on the right wing about the identity of who this person's going to be, a deep state agent or somebody who was against Trump to try to foment whatever. Can't even follow some of these MAGA conspiracies. I want to cue our viewers and listeners into, though, the language of Donald Trump's pardon and what it actually called for right here. And just pull this up here. Mr. Trump, in one of his first official acts after returning to the White House this year, issued a grant of clemency to nearly 1,600 rioters charged in connection with the Capitol attack. His clemency proclamation was extraordinarily broad, covering all defendants accused or convicted of, quote, offenses related to events that occurred at or near the United States Capitol on January 6, 2021. So, as this one account says, it is possible that the defense lawyers for this suspect can argue that this individual was clearly involved in an offense related to events that occurred at or near the United States Capitol on January 6, 2021, right? The pipe bombs, which never exploded, were at the RNC and the DNC areas. That's at or near the Capitol. Happened on the day of January 6, 2021. And the individual, the suspect, let's be clear, it's a suspect, and the story is very bizarre, and I don't think you really know what the hell this FBI is doing. So, let's be very clear about that. But the suspect, Brian Cole Jr., allegedly is saying, and again, allegedly, you never know with this FBI, but saying that he was the one who did it. And he indicated he supports Trump, and that's one of the reasons that he was doing this is because he believed the 2020 election was stolen, and that's why he was involved in all of this. So let's talk about what Kash Patel had been saying. This was Kash Patel at the press conference that he held about this suspected pipe bomber before we knew the identity. You'll notice that Patel never addressed motive or really anything other than he said the following. Let's just play it.
General, when you attack American citizens, when you attack our institutions of legislation, when you attack our nation's capital, you attack the very being of our way of life. And this FBI and this Department of Justice stand here to tell you that we will always refute it and combat it. We will provide the safest country the nation has ever seen under President Trump's leadership here. And that's what we did here today with great resolve on a case.
Do they listen to themselves? Like when they're speaking or after, do they think through the things that they're saying? You do realize that your regime just pardoned 1,600 or so individuals, some of the most violent terrorists around, from Oath Keepers to Proud Boys, people who were convicted of seditious conspiracy with terroristic enhancements or other violent crime enhancements. And you're saying that the FBI is going to protect the Capitol? I mean, what in the world are you all talking about? But here's what Pam Bondi had to say, as they still Attorney General Pam Bondi, and you'll see one of the people questioning, this is from the Daily Wire, the far right-wing extremist propaganda Daily Wire, implying that Kamala Harris was involved in this or something like that. Play this clip.
City.
Mary Margaret, Daily Wire.
Thank you so much. So any theory on why Kamala Harris has never mentioned coming within 20 feet of being assassinated, and any news on why her Secret Service team took so long to find this bomb at the DNC?
No, but what I will tell you is that evidence has been sitting there collecting dust. This wasn't a new tip. It wasn't some new evidence. It was the hard work of President Trump's administration, Deputy Director Bongino and Director Patel.
I mean, it's a very strange administration, very strange regime. I want to bring in Harry Litman from the Talking Feds YouTube channel, Talking Feds Substack, and Talking Feds podcast, former top federal prosecutor from the Western District of Pennsylvania and from Maine Justice. Question for you. You see that. I mean, Trump's pardon would seem to cover the guy. I mean, I don't know how else you read it. But also, after all of the conspiracies that MAGA's been spreading, I mean, the guy's out there saying, you know, I'm a Trumper. I bought into the 2020 election conspiracies, and then you have Kash Patel saying that. It's just there's no intellectual through line of like what the hell's going on.
Yeah, I mean that really is a built-in farce. There's another part of the Bondi press conference that's a little hard to make a highlight of because she just doesn't say anything. She's asked, "Why is this person different from the Marauders?" And she just doesn't answer. And of course, that is the screaming question that this presents and what makes Patel seem like such a buffoon. These are heroes, right? The Marauders. Well, what could be the difference? Oh, well, this guy pipe bomb, maybe he's violent. Excuse me. We have defendants who, use stun guns and flagpoles and chemical agents. So it can't be that. What makes him somehow to be, extolled? And it's certainly true, by the way. The FBI, it's a real achievement here. And I got to dispense with her ridiculous assertion that the Bureau wasn't working and it was somehow a Biden-Trump difference. I had a very similar, it was a death penalty case in Pittsburgh with someone who did put a firebomb under a Christmas tree, killed his girlfriend and her children and stuff. And it took such painstaking work. And this is what they did here. They found, he has Nike shoes. Let's see how many people in the area sell Nike shoes. He is this little stuff and that. That is a very hard relative to talking to confidential informants and the like. So this took every bit of work, and they ought to be praised for it and not used as an occasion to take a stupid political swipe at at Biden. But the hypocrisy, it's so on the surface. What is it about this guy that makes him a figure of celebration that the FBI has brought him to justice and doesn't apply to the 1,600 people that have been pardoned? Now, I'll bet he does make this argument. The proclamation talks about defendants, so that would be, I think, the argument. He wasn't a defendant then; he was just unknown. But the whole notion and the way Trump has spoken about it, etc., this guy should be a triple hero, right? He's really out there working for Trump and trying to, make chaos just what Trump needs and the like. And he's got to. Anyone with any sense of the administration has to understand what this brings home is just the total, more than injustice, heinousness, and lack of, real insult to the democracy that all the pardons occurred. So they're in this funny compromised position as things go along. And it's interesting, he's cooperating, but we'll have his, appearance, and then they'll even as a cooperator, there'll be some time where there's multiple news cycles, and every single one to me just drives home the outrage of the previous pardons.
Take a look right here at what Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino said, because he was talking about the types of conspiracies that he would spread. He still does it, but he would spread as part of his profession when he was a podcaster, right-wing podcaster. That was his job before becoming the Deputy FBI Director. I mean, him and Kash Patel, as podcasters, as their profession, they would talk trash about the FBI. That was their main target, was that they hated the FBI. The FBI was involved in everything and was involved in every conspiracy imaginable. So he was asked, well, what about everything you said about the pipe bomber before? And now you're learning this. And he was like, I was paid to say those things, and one day I'll be paid to say them again. Watch what he says here. Play this clip.
I don't know if you remember this. This is before you became the deputy FBI director. You put a post on X right after this happened. And you said there's a massive cover up because the person that planted those pipe bombs, they don't want you to know who it is because it's either a connected anti-Trump insider or an inside job. You said that, long before you were even thought of as deputy FBI director.
Yeah, that's why I said to you, this investigation's just begun. We are pretty comfortable. We have our guy. I think as legal process starts to surface and information and facts start to come out, the public's going to be very comfortable with the investigation that was conducted under Director Patel and his leadership. He's been great on this. But I don't want to, listen, I was paid in the past, Sean, for my opinions. That's clear. And one day I'll be back in that space. But that's not what I'm paid for now. I'm paid to be your deputy director. And we base investigations on facts. And, it was interesting. I was looking out in the crowd today at the presser, and I saw a couple of media.
Yeah, it's kind of weird stuff.
We base investigations on facts. So by inference, there's something that they don't base on facts. And, I'll point, this is sort of the fifth level point here, Ben, but it just brings home, as does everything that's happened with Hegseth this week, RFK, these initial controversial nominations have been, in fact, on the ground, frigging disasters. Both Patel and Bongino, the FBI is completely up in arms. They are, it was already a huge slap in the face, or you could use other metaphors when they did all the pardons coming through. You've got the whole rank and file of the FBI, the union, criticizing them as know-nothings. And, Bongino was especially controversial. Would always have a professional in that setting, not a anti-FBI person, but they just, they're public officials, so they have to confront, like, well, wait a second, you said the sky was falling before and now it's not. And they just, run away or make really what a great explanation. Oh, I was being paid then, and now I'm your public official. That really gives confidence in Bongino, doesn't it?
The worst. It's like the worst of the worst. You couldn't pick worse people for any of these. But who do you want as the Health and Human Services? The guy who hates vaccines and hates health.
Yeah.
Okay, that guy. Okay, well, who do you want to be the person who runs the Secretary of Defense? Oh, the guy who says that there's no such thing as war crimes and lethality is your main thing, and the Fox News weekend host.
And this is before Fox, by the way. They wouldn't even go in and a guy like Bongino. And the same thing with the question that Bondi got. It was from a right-wing press. That's all that's there. Even wired as this is, it just totally.
Who do you want as the FBI director?
Stand up.
Let's pick the guy who's made his career as an anti-FBI podcaster to be the FBI. Who's your energy guy? The guy who hates most new forms of energy. I mean, you go through it all. Who do you want to be the transportation secretary? How about that guy Sean from Real World Road Rules Challenges? Yeah, let's pick that guy to put him in charge of our freaking airplanes. The worst humans, like not even a political, just the worst freaking qualified people. Harry Litman runs the Talking Fed YouTube channel, Talking Feds podcast, and Talking Feds Substack. Subscribe right now by searching Talking Feds on YouTube and all those other platforms. Thanks, Harry.
Hey, thanks, Ben.
Hit subscribe here.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.